If any one of y'all needed a PSA in the year 2025 not to mess around with creepy religious shit you don't understand, here you go. I'm Billy Joe, and welcome to Miss Marks. Today we're going to be talking to y'all about Rosario. Rosario tells the tale of its lead, Rosario, not a stretch, who is a young, successful businesswoman that has grown a little bit distant from her family. The opening scene shows her as a young girl and celebrating a birthday party. And you can see the family is all together. Everybody's really good, having a good time. But we established pretty early on that old grandma, she got some secrets that don't nobody know about. And she don't want nobody to know about neither. Not just because she don't want anybody to find out about it. She don't want to put nobody in danger because she knows what she's dealing with. Unfortunately, we find out that close-knit family we saw in that opening scene has become not so close. The only person Rosario really talks to in her family is her father. She don't talk to her mama, her grandma, nobody. In fact, she hasn't even spoken to her grandma in several years. What starts off as a normal day for Rosario quickly evolves into a hellish spiral, all beginning with a call that her grandmother has passed away and that she needs to come and face the situation. If she doesn't, there's going to be some repercussions, and essentially it drives our character into the main set of the movie and the main plot of the movie of facing your problems. Rosario is a character that we get to know pretty quickly that she's not fond of facing her issues. She really is. She kind of tends to run away from things. One of the things I really enjoy about this movie is the focus on sometimes you just got to face your problems. When the time comes, you can't run away from it. You just got to head on, deal with it. So that this is one of the first elements of that she has to come in and face the situation. The battleground for this movie takes place in her grandmother's apartment complex. And as she enters, you can quickly find out, man, something's wrong with this place. Something just seems off. Even the things that aren't actually off seem a little off, from the landlord to the neighbors. Get into that a little bit more later in terms of, empty promises, but everything feels off and definitely is off. Diving deeper into her own grandmother's apartment, though, she finds out that there's all kinds of secrets in here, and as she continues to explore, she begins to unravel the terms and conditions of her grandmother's ancient dark religion, Palo. Forgive my pronunciation if I'm a bit off on that. Now, in Billy's world, this would have been a much shorter movie, because I'm going to sit my ass right in the living room. I ain't messing with none of that shit. I ain't going over there. I ain't going over there. I ain't messing with that. I ain't reading this. And I damn sure ain't saying none of this stuff out loud. I don't know what it means. I'm going to sit in that living room and wait for them paramedics to show up. Luckily for the viewers in attendance, Rosario is not quite this deterred. She is actually eager to continue to explore and find out just what her grandmother has been up to all these years and how it affects her. Since she is braver and stupider than old Billy, we have some marks to cover. Let's start out with the positives. We're going to look at the pros, the made marks, if you will. And I'll be honest with you, this one was not a stellar film. It does make some marks. What it does well, I think, is more not so in the meat, but in the bone of the movie. If we'll get to it. This one was tricky, and part of the reason for the delay in uploading this was because I really had to kind of wrestle with myself a little bit to determine what did I actually want to rate this movie. It's really tough because there are some missed marks present. There's some pretty strong missed marks, but in those same missed marks, there's also a few redeeming factors that kind of kick in and prevent it from being as bad as I thought it was. I really had to sit down and wrestle with it and think about it and kind of figure out where I wanted to go. And finally, I've come to terms with myself on where I want to rank this, why I want to rank it, what I liked about it, and what I didn't like about it. So here you go. We're going to kick things off with what I think is the biggest strength of the movie, and that is in the design. I think that the idea of the set being this claustrophobic, cluttered, grimy, filthy apartment complex, this really helps to set the feel and kind of get the viewer a little uncomfortable. Never really too uncomfortable, though, but uncomfortable enough that you're kind of a little eerie about what's waiting around the next corner, what's going to be under the blanket in this room, what's going to be behind this stack of stuff, what's going to be in the next altar, where is everything? And so I feel like the design is really the highlight of this film, because it's very minimal in that you're never really leaving the apartment. It all takes place really in the apartment. She tries to leave the apartment, but as we mentioned earlier, she's forced to stay in. Factors have kind of come in to force her to stick in that apartment. And that's part of what makes this set design work. They really go above and beyond on the attention to detail. Like, it really feels like this belongs where it is. And nothing ever really feels too out of place aside from, the religious altar area. It kind of seems a little bit unbelievable because it's like, can anybody really afford an apartment in New York City that's that big and it's got all these secret compartments? Is that what we're doing? That's a little bit off-putting, just because it just kind of is like, really? How did you get that much space? So it's a little bit weird there, but if you can kind of suspend your sense of disbelief for a minute and know this is just a movie, you can still enjoy it and it doesn't get you too much. But it was definitely something for me that was just like, does she really have that much room in a New York City apartment? Whatever. With that in mind, we're going to go ahead and award 1 star to the design. Next up, we're going to go into the effects a little bit. And I'm giving this 1 out of 1.5 as well. And this is kind of where I struggled a little early on, is, determining if this was a casualty, outer edge, or a missed mark. And I think really developing the missed mark method has helped me figure this one out and kind of take a step back and look into what did it do well. Does it deserve to be this or does it deserve to be that? And honestly, I think that the effects in this movie were one of the better parts of the movie as far as the actual interactive parts of it, outside of the set just kind of being the backdrop for it all. The effects are the thing that really holds here, because this is not a very action-packed horror movie. This is not like a terrifying horror movie where you're going to feel like the main character is ever really in any grand sense of danger. But what you do feel is a sense of disgust. This is absolutely a gross-out horror movie in which, not like a body horror type, but almost in some senses, but really more like an Exorcist style gross out, with like the vomit and the fluids and just kind of different interactions with the skin and just kind of effects like that. But the effects are really the sole source of terror here, because you never feeling like this is something that's going to impact you. Like if you, like with Nightmare on Elm Street, if I was afraid that if I went to sleep after seeing that movie, that Freddy was going to come and get me. At no point in time do I feel like I'm going to be impacted by anything in this movie. And honestly, even though it was very clearly in the terms and conditions agreement that she was reading out loud that she didn't understand, I didn't really feel like the main character was all that impacted by anything in this movie. It just never really presented a sense of danger to me. But what it did present was, oh my gosh, that is disgusting, y'all. Absolutely disgusting. Not enough that made me really turn away, kind of like, ugh. But it was definitely the soul redeeming horror or terror factor in this film. So for that, we're going to go ahead and give it there, that 1 star. Not the 1.5, because it's just not really anything spectacular. And I feel like it could have gone a little bit further, kicked it up that extra notch and made old Billy kind of look away, but didn't quite get there. But good enough. Not to mention the fact that the effects and the set design, the two primary main marks, they go hand in hand. They round out a really nice tag team of setting up that griminess, that disgust factor. You can have the set being this claustrophobic, cluttered apartment, but when you had in the effects of, just kind of this nastiness in the air and this kind of, you feel like you could smell it almost. That's what really creates the soul sense of terror here. And that's what we're here for. This is a horror movie. We're supposed to have some sort of terror. And that's where we get it. Not from the main villain, not from anything else, just the set and the effects comes in. The last thing I do want to give a main mark to is a little bit of the action. We're going to give this 1.5 just for standard. It doesn't really do anything crazy here. As I mentioned before, I don't get a feel like the main character is in any sense of danger. I feel like the primary evil was defeated far too easily. I feel like its power was too limited. I feel like, keeping this thing compacted in the set, and that's where, so there's a double-edged sword, where I said before that the set creates that sense of terror. It also kind of removes it a little bit because there's not really any widespread impact here. It's just the Rosario and the evil. And I don't want to get into too many details on that. Y'all know Miss Marks is not about spoilers. We try to keep things as spoiler-free as possible, so not going to go into any major plot details on that, but it's really very minimalist all around, and that includes the action. The action scenes feel nothing really it kind of felt like they were at the bottom of the list in terms of the production for this. It felt like they were so focused on, curating this set and making sure that every detail was there, that when it kind of got down to, oh shit, you guys, we got to film these action sequences, they didn't really know what to do, or they didn't have the budget or the time. They just felt rushed. Honestly, felt out of place. They didn't really feel like they were even warranted in the movie. Because again, this is supposed to be this like ancient dark evil. And this girl that has, they don't even talk about her taking any martial arts lessons or anything. She's able to defeat this. I felt like it was way too simple, way too anticlimactic. And so action, we're going to give that a 0.5 because it was there. It was good enough, but it didn't really do anything spectacular. And it also didn't really detract from the movie from being so bad. Now let's talk about the missed mark. And this is where I feel like we really missed the mark on this one. We're talking about the plot, where I've awarded 0 out of 1.5, but also not gone so far as to make it detract. The reason for this is, I've mentioned earlier, there are some really well woven in themes of having to face your problems. This is another instance where I really had to sleep on this, think about it for a little while, because the plot itself, unfortunately, it's a little bit convoluted. She's going into these terms and conditions of the religion, and it's 1 minute it's this, and then it's this, and then it's that, and she doesn't understand it, which means you don't understand it. And it's just so wishy-washy back and forth that it eventually feels like you're just kind of chasing around a bush for an hour. And it just doesn't really feel like there's any real sense of progression, like you're actually going anywhere. There's a lot of elements in the movie that feel like they're set up to have a more major involvement, such as the landlord or the neighbor. Even in the trailer, these are things that are kind of implied that they're going to be a bigger deal. And they really fall short in their actual implementation. They're just there to just kind of be weird, inconvenienced people. I didn't really care for that. In addition, I feel like the resolution to everything was just so underwhelming. We had a really cool concept here. The plot was where I actually expected this one to thrive. I thought we were going to have some really cool twists in here. We do get a twist, but unfortunately, y'all, it comes in so darn late that I was ready to go. And it actually, rather than being, I was like, oh, here we go. We got more. This should be over now. And it was where the twist comes in. It's just kind of like, do we have enough time left to build this back up? We don't. And it doesn't get built back up. It's resolved almost instantly. It's so disappointing. I'm not going to say what it is or how it's resolved, but it's just outright unnecessary. I felt like the movie would have been better just ending as opposed to forcing this added narrative in that just, like I said, you didn't have enough time to build it back up. You didn't have enough time to truly resolve it out. I think it could have just went on without being there. I don't feel like it contributed enough to warrant its inclusion. And I think that in a day where every movie is made almost forced to be a certain length, this is an instance where we could have shortened things up a little bit and really helped with the pacing. And maybe we're looking at a 0.5 instead of a 0. But unfortunately, it fell flat, and now we're looking at a 0. Rounding it all out, we got 1 star for design, 1 star for the effects, a half a star for the action, and no stars for the plot, leading to 2.5. Now with that 2.5, we're not quite hitting the target on the outer edge, but we're also not killing anybody in the process. So we're not looking at an outer edge or a casualty, but rather this one just kind of missed the mark a little bit. I was a little disappointed walking out of the theater. Definitely a missed mark, but not quite also feeling like I wasted my time watching it. I think that there was a solid premise and a really promising concept here with this one that just unfortunately doesn't deliver. It's not so bad that I felt like, man, I wasted my freaking time. But at the same time, it wasn't so good that I felt like if I had actually spent money to go see it, as opposed to using Regal Unlimited, I would have felt like I kind of wasted my money a little bit. And for that reason, I say, this is absolutely worth watching. It's not bad at all. It's just not good. This one is now out of the theater. My review is late. It is available for purchase on digital platforms. So if you're really anticipating this one, you didn't see it in theaters, and now you're kind of thinking, man, should I go ahead and buy it? Should I go ahead and rent it? Or should I just wait a little bit longer and wait for it to come to streaming? Do what you feel like you need to do. But old Billy says you can keep your wallet in your pocket for this one and just wait for that thing to come streaming. All right. It is going to be worth watching. You are going to at least somewhat enjoy it if you're an avid horror fan. But at the same time, if you're an avid horror fan, I don't think it's going to meet your expectations either. I think you're going to be looking for a little bit more from it. And on the flip side, if you're not an avid horror fan and you're not really a huge horror person, I don't think it has enough other redeeming qualities about it to be of interest either. But it is decent. Not one I would say for gateway horror fans. If you're trying to get somebody into horror, I don't think this is the one you want to show them. If you got somebody that's real squeamish in your party, you definitely want to leave them out as well. Because as we said, this one's pretty gross. I have included some clips from the trailer in this review. Now, I've curated this to include as little of the giveaways as possible, but I would advise you that if this is your first instance of seeing anything for this movie, I don't suggest that you go out and watch the full trailer. I think that this is an instance where the whole movie really is given away by the trailer. I think all the best parts of the movie were in the trailer, which was another thing that really disappointed me here. I felt like I already got everything that I was wanting to see in the trailer. So if you are kind of on the fence that you're not really sure this one's going to be for you and you're thinking about watching the trailer, just know if you watch the trailer for this one ahead, you might not leave a whole lot left on the plate. But that's your call. You do what you want to do. As for old Billy, we're going to wind it down here. Enjoyed it. Didn't love it. Wouldn't pay for it. Not going to watch it again. I'm good. But you should check it out when it comes to streaming. Please do like and subscribe to the video if you've enjoyed this review. And let me know in the comments if you already did see this one, what you thought, or if you are planning on checking it out when it does come to streaming, or if you think, you know what, Billy, I don't really care what you had to say. I'm going to go buy that thing right now. Also, do want to note that MissMarks.com is now fully live. This includes all of our video reviews, written reviews, a little bit about us, and some information that kind of goes a little bit more in depth on the MissMark method that we keep talking about, the way that we review our movies. So if you want to give that a read, come to know a little bit more about how we do things here, like I said, it's over there at MissMarks.com. Until next time, I'm the Scene Cowboy Billy Joe, and this is Miss Marks.